My new college roommate is from a family of mystics. On the first day of school, she offered me a free psychic reading. But after I gave her my birth date and time, she trailed off, refusing to say a word. That night, I overheard her on a hushed phone call. It's so weird, Liam. I did a chart for my new roommate today. According to her chart, she was dead the moment she was born. I was just sneaking out for a midnight bathroom run, but I never expected to overhear Chloe's phone call, or to hear something so terrifying. The words scared the pee right out of me, and goosebumps erupted all over my skin. She'd only done one reading that day. Mine. Was I the person she was talking about? The one who was born dead? Chloe came out of the bathroom. Seeing me standing there, frozen, she realized I'd heard everything. An awkward silence hung between us. Don't overthink it, she said, forcing a laugh. My skills are the worst in my family. I must have gotten it wrong. She then mumbled something about the hallway being drafty and hurried back to bed. She went back to the dorm. I stood alone in the hallway for a long time, because it wasn't the first time I'd heard something like that. In elementary school, we had a field trip to a park. A fortune teller, a strange old man, blocked my path. A great fate falls from the heavens, blessed with luck but cursed to walk the underworld's door. Little girl, he'd said, you're a dead person. He looked completely unhinged. I got scared and ran. But the old man chased me for what felt like forever. When he finally caught up, he sighed and handed me a dark green jade pendant. He said saving a life was a great act of merit. He told me to wear the pendant, to keep it close to my body at all times, and never, ever take it off. As I remembered this, I instinctively clutched the jade pendant hanging around my neck. The next day, a class officer came around to collect everyone's hometown information for the student records. I told her I was from Huaijin Mountain. Chloe suddenly leaned in close. You're from the clan? I nodded. My last name is Jade, and my first name is Jade. Everyone in my village is named Jade. We're all part of the clan. Her eyes lit up. I'm really interested in your culture. Jade, can you tell me about the legend of the cleansing? Before I could answer, my other roommate, Sophie, pushed the door open. She stopped and stared at me. What are you doing in the dorm? I pointed to myself. Are you talking to me? She nodded, walking over and circling me. Weren't you just outside the main dining hall? I said hi, but you acted like you didn't even see me. Chloe jumped to my defense. Jade's been in the dorm all day. We just finished registering our info with the class officer. Hearing Chloe say that, Sophie had to consider that maybe she'd been mistaken. That must be it. I was wondering why you'd just ignore me like that. After Sophie was convinced, Chloe leaned in again. Come on, Jade. Just tell me about the cleansing. I opened my textbook, pretending I hadn't heard her. Even though Chloe had my back and seemed like a good person, the cleansing was our village's darkest custom. It was the last thing I ever wanted to talk about. The Jade clan originally came from the southern frontier. Legend says that after our first chief led our people to Jiangzhou, his younger brother suddenly fell ill and died. With no money or connections, the chief had to bury his brother on some random hill. But after his brother's death, many people in the clan started coming down with the same mysterious illness. A passing master told them the brother had died with a grudge, and the bad feng shui of his grave had intensified his resentment. There was only one way to break the curse he'd laid upon them. From that day forward, if the firstborn child in any family was a girl, she had to be thrown into the river. Otherwise, that family would be cursed with terrible luck from debilitating illness to death and ruin. That was the cleansing. I'm the firstborn child in my family. I once asked my dad why I wasn't cleansed. I remember him smiling, a look of pure love on his face. He said it didn't matter if I was a boy or a girl, I was a gift from the heavens. He just wanted me to live a good life. He said he'd willingly face any misfortune for that. The Tanjade clan is reclusive. I'm the first person from my village to ever go to college. I thought that once I got here, I could finally stop thinking about the cleansing. But I never expected to run into someone like Chloe, who actually knew about it. I wouldn't tell her about it because I was afraid my classmates would make fun of such a backward custom. Thankfully, Chloe wasn't the type to push. When she saw I wouldn't talk, she dropped it. Until a few days later, when another classmate said she'd seen me off campus. My first thought was that she, like Sophie, had just mistaken someone else for me. After all, my family wasn't well off, and my living allowance was tight. Besides working a part-time job handing out flyers on weekends, I barely ever left the dorm. But she was adamant. She insisted it was me. I even took a picture. She pulled out her phone and started swiping through her photos. After a few minutes, she put her phone down, her face suddenly pale. "That's weird," she muttered. "The person in the photo is gone." I leaned in for a look. The picture was definitely of the school's south gate. There were a few people scattered around, but they were all guys. I couldn't help but laugh. "Those are all boys. How did you mistake one of them for me?" She shook her head frantically. No. She pointed at an empty space in the middle of the photo. "Right there. You were standing right there, wearing a yellow sweater." I had been laughing, but when I heard that, I froze. I opened my closet and pulled out a sweater. "Was it this one?" She yelled, Yes. The one with the little bear embroidered on the back. "It's so cute." My heart sank. My mom had hand-stitched this sweater for me before I left for college. It was one of a kind. If she wasn't lying, then the person she'd photographed had to be me. But I hadn't been anywhere near the south gate today. And if she really had seen me, why wasn't I in the picture? There could only be one explanation. I slammed my closet door shut, angry. "That's a really horrible joke to play. Are you trying to say I'm not human, so I don't show up on camera?" Normally, it might have been a harmless prank. But just a few days after Chloe told me my birth chart said I was a dead person, it felt like the whole world was messing with me. I was furious. I shoved the girl out of my dorm room. But I'd forgotten she was Brooke, one of the most popular girls in our year. She was probably offended that I'd snapped at her. So when I walked into our evening study hall, I saw everyone whispering to each other. I found an empty seat. The girl sitting next to it immediately grabbed her books and moved somewhere else. It dawned on me. Brooke was turning everyone against me. Sure enough, I heard people nearby whispering. "That's her, Jade. I hear she has a terrible temper." Brooke was just trying to be nice, and she turned it around and accused Brooke of insulting her. You should know better than to do things like that. Some people just don't appreciate it. No good deed goes unpunished. Ever since school started, it felt like nothing had gone right. My eyes burned with tears as I opened my textbook. Suddenly, a shadow fell over me. I looked up. It was Chloe, sitting down beside me. She had also heard the gossip spreading through the class. She propped her book up to hide her face and whispered, "Jade, what's really going on?" Chloe had been on leave for a few days and had just gotten back to school. For some reason, seeing her right then felt like seeing family. I fought back tears and told her what had just happened. I expected her to mock me like the others. Instead, she stared at me for a moment, then asked, "Are you saying Brooke saw your doppelganger?" Doppelganger? Chloe pulled out her phone and showed me the screen. The webpage said a doppelganger is an exact double of a living person. Call it a person, call it a spirit. Whatever it was, a person should never meet their doppelganger. If you meet it and it follows you home, you'll die a sudden, unexplained death. A chill ran down my spine. Brooke said she saw it at the school gate, which meant the doppelganger was probably still on campus. If I accidentally ran into it, was I going to die? The thought made me so anxious I could barely sit still. I even considered going to apologize to Brooke. Seeing the color drain from my face, Chloe pulled a talisman out of her bag. "Jade, keep this on you. When you sleep, put it under your pillow. No matter who you hear calling your name, do not answer. You must remember this." I was confused. "What is this?" Chloe explained that a doppelganger is a malevolent entity. It likes to appear suddenly in front of people. The person it's mimicking, upon seeing an exact copy of themselves, will often panic, causing their soul to become unstable. The doppelganger then seizes the opportunity to steal their body. This talisman was a soul-anchoring charm. It would protect my spirit from being shaken. I took the talisman and carefully tucked it into my pocket. My heart was heavy with despair. Starting college was supposed to be exciting, but one thing after another had filled me with a deep fear of this new life. My mind was a chaotic mess, and I couldn't fall asleep until late. Around 1 or 2 in the morning, as I lay facing the wall, I suddenly heard a faint, ghostly voice. "Jade, honey." My friends and classmates all call me Jade, but only my mom calls me Jade, honey. Hearing that name, my first instinct was to answer. But just as I was about to open my mouth, I remembered Chloe's warning. I bit my lip hard and stayed silent. The voice seemed to grow impatient. I heard a series of soft, quick footsteps climbing the ladder between the two bunk beds. The thing that was calling me, it felt like it was standing at the top of the ladder, silently watching me. A cold sensation crept up from my feet. I wanted to pull my feet back under the covers, but I was afraid it would know I was awake. We remained in that standoff for a long time. Finally, it let out a soft sigh. "Jade, honey, be careful. Don't trust her." I shot up in bed. The moment I sat up, fear washed over me. Thankfully, the space at the foot of my bed was empty. The thing was gone. I lay back down. I thought about what it had said. Why did it call me Jade, honey, and who was it warning me to be careful of? The next morning, Chloe asked me if anything had happened last night. I left out the part about the voice telling me to be careful. I only said that a voice had been calling my name. Chloe frowned. "With the soul anchoring charm, you shouldn't have been able to hear it at all." She walked a full circle around me, then her eyes fixed on my neck. "What are you wearing?" I pulled the pendant out from under my collar. "You mean this? A fortune teller gave it to me when I was a kid." Chloe snatched the pendant from my neck. "Are you crazy, Jade? You can't just wear grave jade." "Grave what?" I didn't think I'd heard her right. Chloe sighed. She explained it was blood jade, dug up from a tomb. It looked dark green, but it was actually filled with threads of blood. Anyone who wears it will have their luck drained, becoming a magnet for misfortune and suffering from an unstable soul. This was an extremely dangerous situation. She turned on her phone's flashlight and shone it through the back of the jade. The once dark green pendant revealed its inner structure under the bright light. Countless hair-like filaments, like strands of seaweed, drifted inside. I jumped back, horrified. Chloe put the jade away. "I'll mail this to Liam. He'll have it destroyed at the temple." I nodded quickly. The thought that this thing had been on my body for so many years made me feel sick. Seeing that I'd taken off the pendant, Chloe threw an arm around my shoulder. "Don't think about it, Jade. We're having a dorm dinner tonight. You should come with us." My other two roommates looked at me expectantly. I was about to refuse, but then I thought about how I hadn't really hung out with everyone since school started. So I nodded. Dinner was at a northeastern Chinese restaurant just outside the campus gates. Chloe had already ordered, and we were all chatting. Suddenly, I saw a familiar figure. He flashed past the restaurant window. It was the old man who had given me the pendant. I shot up from my seat. Without a word of explanation to Chloe and the others, I bolted out the door after him. The old man looked frail, but he ran surprisingly fast. I finally managed to cut him off. "Why did you try to hurt me?" The old man was startled. He squinted at me for a long moment before a smile spread across his face. "You're that little girl?" "Yes, it's me." I was out of breath. "Someone told me that Jade is grave jade. Why would you do that to me?" Hearing my words, the old man's cheerful expression vanished. He froze. He leaned in close and asked loudly, "Who told you that Jade was grave jade?" When the old man saw I wasn't wearing the pendant, he pointed a shaky finger at me and clucked his tongue. He slapped his thigh. "You ungrateful girl. Do you have any idea what you've done? You were born with a fated life. If you survive your trials, you're destined for greatness. That jade was meant to protect you through it all. It's protected you for over a decade. It's become linked to your destiny. Now, whoever has that jade can steal the good fortune meant for the rest of your life." What? His rapid-fire explanation left me completely bewildered. I was about to ask more when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Chloe, asking where I'd gone. I looked at her message, then thought about what the old man had just said, and the warning from my dream. A strange, bone-deep chill crept over me. I texted Chloe back, telling her something came up and I wouldn't be at dinner. Then I grabbed the old man and pulled him into a different restaurant, a lamb place. I needed to get to the bottom of this. The restaurant happened to be a Northwestern-style place. I ordered a dozen lamb skewers and told the old man to eat his fill. He was so happy his beard was practically floating, and he ate until his mouth was slick with grease. But as I ate, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about the lamb. "Isn't this lamb a little lean?" The old man disagreed. "Lean? This lamb isn't lean at all. It's fantastic." I forced a smile and quickly ordered another 10 skewers for him. Only then did he seem satisfied, stroking his beard contentedly. He then told me the story behind the jade pendant. It turned out the old man was a wandering mystic. The day he met me was the first day he had returned to Jiangzhou after completing his training. He had just divined that he would meet someone with whom he had a karmic connection. And then he ran into me. Seeing my faded life, my darkened brow, yet the aura of fortune surrounding me, he decided to help. That's why he gave me the jade. The jade only needed to protect me until I turned 20, and it would guarantee me a life of wealth and prosperity. And the person who took the jade knew this. That's why they schemed to trick me out of it. I quickly asked him what I should do. The old man thought for a moment. Normally, I can only help once. But since we're from the same region and the same clan, I'll find another spiritual jade for you. This time you better keep it safe. I asked how he would find me. He just gave me a mysterious smile and said to meet him here again tomorrow at 5 p.m. Looked like he wanted another lamb dinner. I casually asked, "You said you're also from Jiangzhou?" The old man, full and satisfied, paused at my question. "That's right." "Why?" I shook my head and, with a simple smile, asked the waiter to pack up the remaining lamb skewers for the old man to take with him. I had planned to wait for the old man at the restaurant starting at noon the next day, but Chloe informed me that there would be a dorm-wide cleanliness inspection the next afternoon. I was a little confused. Aren't inspections always on Thursdays? Chloe was in the student government, head of the sanitation committee. It wouldn't be hard for her to change the inspection time. I suspected she knew about my meeting with the old man and was trying to keep me on campus. Sensing my silence, Chloe noticed something was off. She looked at me directly. "Jade, what's wrong? I haven't even asked you why you suddenly ditched us yesterday." "And nothing." I waved my hands awkwardly, figuring I could still make it after the inspection. It wouldn't be too late. But our class was scheduled last. By the time the inspection was over, it was past 9 p.m. When I rushed to the restaurant, it was already closed. I looked around for a while but couldn't find any sign of the old man. Just as I was starting to panic, my mom called. "Jade honey, are you okay?" My mom said her eye had been twitching lately, and she couldn't stop worrying about me. The moment I heard her voice, all my pent-up frustrations came pouring out. I told her everything that had happened over the past few days. When my mom heard the jade was gone, she panicked too. "The one you've been wearing all this time? You foolish child." I had an expert look at that jade. It was a genuinely good, protective piece. Her words made me even more anxious. Then what do I do? My parents talked it over and decided to fly out to see me the next day. They were going to help me stake out the area and find that old man. When my roommates heard my parents were coming, they all insisted on taking them out for a welcome dinner. I was still a bit suspicious of Chloe, but when I saw how enthusiastically she was suggesting restaurants and local specialties, I started to think I was just overthinking things. Maybe Chloe's skills were just underdeveloped, and she genuinely thought the jade was a bad thing. Otherwise, why would she still be so friendly to me after she got it? My parents arrived by plane the next day. Seeing their concerned faces, the tension and anxiety that had been building up for days finally started to ease. The dinner was warm and happy. Afterwards, my roommates headed back to the dorm. I took my parents to find a nearby hotel. But as soon as we got into the hotel room, my mom pulled me aside, her expression grim. "Jade honey, that roommate of yours is not human." Who wasn't human? The news hit me like a ton of bricks. My mom told me that during dinner, she was sitting to Chloe's left and saw a mark on her neck, like one left by a rope. It wasn't obvious, but the strange color and pattern. She was absolutely certain it was the mark left on a hanging ghost. Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh. "No, Mom, that's not it." On the first day of school, we'd noticed the scar on Chloe's neck. Chloe wasn't shy about it. She told us she was kidnapped as a child. The kidnappers took the money and were going to kill her. Luckily, the police rescued her just in time. The mark was a scar from that incident. I explained everything to my mom, but she just tapped me on the head. "My sweet, naive girl. You believe everything people tell you. Let me ask you, is that girl's family incredibly wealthy?" And no, I don't think so. I remembered Chloe's phone was an old model that constantly lost signal. She didn't seem like a rich girl. Exactly. My mom shook her head. If she's not from a rich family, what kidnapper would be crazy enough to bother with her? None of us roommates had ever doubted Chloe's story. But hearing my mom put it that way, a shiver went down my spine. There's one other way to be sure. My mom dug through her suitcase and pulled out a small block of wood. Good thing I brought this just in case. Tonight, stay awake. When you see that girl get up to use the bathroom, put this piece of wood by the dorm room door. This is peach wood. If she's not human, she won't be able to cross it. If what my mom was saying was true, then everything seemed to fall into place. Chloe had malicious intentions from the start. First, she scared me with my birth chart. Then, she colluded with my classmates, using the half-true legend of the doppelganger to terrify me even more. Feeling isolated and helpless, I would naturally trust her completely. And just like that, I'd handed over the jade pendant. Thinking about it, I took the block of peach wood. I told my mom I would try it tonight. To keep myself from falling asleep, I pinched my thigh hard. Finally, at 3 a.m., I heard Chloe get out of bed. After she pushed the door open and left, I tiptoed out of bed. I placed the peachwood block at the threshold of the dorm room door. Then I scrambled back into bed. A few moments later, Chloe returned. I heard her footsteps in the hallway, and then they stopped right at the door. Chloe usually walked very quietly, but now I could tell she was anxious, her steps quick and short. The door creaked open, but she didn't come in. She seemed to be pacing back and forth just outside, over and over again. But she never came inside. It was the coldest part of winter. Standing in the hallway in just her pajamas, Chloe must have been freezing. Why wasn't she coming in? Was my mom right? Was Chloe not human, and that's why she couldn't step over the peachwood? The thought pierced through my mind. My scalp tingled. I couldn't believe I'd been living with a corpse for so long. I was about to wake up my other roommates and tell them. But then I heard Chloe call my name from outside the door. Jade. Jade. A jolt went through me. How did she know I was awake? My bed is against the balcony, and a corner of it is visible from the doorway. Did she see the light from my phone in the small mirror on the door? I trembled, pulling the blanket over my head and peeking out through a small gap. In the pale moonlight, Chloe stood frozen at the doorway. Under the hallway light, I saw her eyes staring straight in my direction. Her pupils were dark and wide, making it look like she had no whites in her eyes at all. She raised a hand, as if beckoning to me. Hey, Jade, come out. And when I heard her call, I don't know what came over me, but I actually got out of bed and started walking toward the door. It wasn't until I was just 3 steps away from her that I realized what was happening. I snapped out of it with a jolt and tried to back away to wake my roommates. But Chloe was faster. She grabbed my sleeve and yanked me out into the hallway. I was about to scream, but Chloe clamped a hand over my mouth. Are you trying to get us killed, Jade? The dorm monitor is a light sleeper with a bad temper. If you wake her up, none of us are getting any sleep. Wait a minute. Chloe was talking like a normal person. I was completely confused. Instinctively, I reached out and put my hand on her chest. Ghosts don't have heartbeats, right? But I felt a warm chest and a steady beating heart. Chloe wasn't a ghost? Chloe was startled. But then she realized what I was doing and slapped my hand away. Quick, let me borrow your phone. What? I was even more confused now. As she took my phone, she started muttering, the signal in this dorm building is so bad. My old phone can't even get 1 bar. I've been pacing the hallway for ages trying to send this stupid message. So Chloe hadn't come into the room, because she was trying to get a phone signal in the hallway? I relaxed, my body suddenly going limp, and I started to collapse. Whoa, Jade, what's wrong? Don't faint on me. I just wanted to borrow your phone. Chloe was genuinely scared now. She scooped me up with one arm and carried me back inside. As she carried me, only one thought filled my mind. Thank God. I wasn't living with a ghost. I wanted to explain to Chloe why I'd reacted that way, but she put a finger to her lips in a should gesture. We'll talk tomorrow. It's too late tonight. I nodded. Finally, I could get some real sleep. I didn't have a morning class the next day, so I slept until noon. When I woke up, Chloe had already gotten lunch for me. I shot up from my bed like a spring and jumped down to hug her. Oh, thank God, Chloe, I'm so glad. But her brow was furrowed. Stop crying, you little idiot. That jade pendant of yours is a huge problem. She told me to look at my phone, at the message she'd sent using it last night. I looked. It was a text message. Liam, what's the deal with that jade? Then she handed me her own phone. Here, this is what my mentor Liam sent back this morning. There were several long, detailed messages. It was clear Liam had taken this very seriously. I skimmed through them, and as I understood what he was saying, a cold dread washed over me. Liam said the jade wasn't just ordinary grave jade, it was a soul-swapping jade. What was a soul-swapping jade? Chloe explained that, in simple terms, the jade wasn't natural. It was man-made. It contained the powdered ash of human bones. It held a piece of someone's soul. By wearing it against my skin every day, both the jade and the soul inside it had become attuned to my own energy. When the time was right, the person who gave me the jade could perform a ritual. My soul, already unstable, would be easily pushed out, and my body would be possessed by the soul within the jade. I shook my head. That's impossible. Your mentor must be mistaken. My mom had someone look at it, and they said it was a good jade. Just then my phone buzzed. It was a message from my mom. Jade honey, come quick. We found the old man. 22. I looked at my phone screen, then back at Chloe. This time I truly didn't know who to believe. Chloe saw my hesitation and suddenly asked, Jade, are you sure you're the only child in your family? I answered without thinking. Of course. I'm an only child. When the village chief tried to make my dad perform the cleansing, my dad even said. I trailed off, stunned. Chloe, you went and investigated the cleansing, didn't you? Chloe looked a little guilty but nodded. I was instantly furious. The cleansing was the one thing I never wanted to talk about. When she'd asked me before, I had made it clear I didn't want anyone to know. And she had gone behind my back to look into it. I shoved her phone back at her, my voice full of anger. I don't need your help anymore. And stop digging into the cleansing. With that, I turned and ran out of the room. Since my mom said they'd found the old man, I was going to find out what was really going on. When I arrived at the location my mom sent, the old man was there, just as she'd said, leaning back in his chair and casually picking his teeth. My parents were standing beside him, smiling obsequiously. Great master, you see, it was our daughter who was being foolish. Please give her another jade pendant. As she spoke, my mom held out a thick red envelope of cash. The old man took the money, rubbing his fingers over it before smiling. Don't worry. Of course there's a jade. He opened his eyes and looked at me. But this child can't be so careless with it again. Of course, of course. My mom pulled me over and forced me to bow to him, then took the new jade from his hand and put it around my neck. Once the jade was securely on, my mom finally let out a sigh of relief. She patted the jade under my collar, a look of deep satisfaction on her face. There. Now I can finally rest easy. Seeing her actions warmed my heart. Mom was just as caring as she was when I was little. Now that everything was settled, I tugged on my mom's sleeve, reluctant to see them go. Mom, are you guys leaving already? My parents exchanged a look and then smiled at me. No, we're not leaving. It's our first time in the big city. We plan on staying for about a week. Your 20th birthday is in a week. We'll celebrate with you, and then we'll go. Hearing that, I paused. I should have been happy to hear what my mom said. But for some reason, Chloe's words from when I'd stormed out of the dorm echoed in my mind. Jade, no matter how mad you are, you have to believe me. Your 20th birthday is next week. That person will definitely make their move on that day. I shook my head, trying to banish the ridiculous thought. It couldn't be. It had to be a coincidence. My parents just wanted to celebrate my birthday with me. Before heading back to the dorm, I stopped by a deli at the school gate to pick up some food. Remembering what the old man had told me to do, I couldn't help but feel a little anxious. He had given me a paper talisman and told me to stick it somewhere Chloe would touch every day. Why do I need to put a talisman on her? The old man shot me a look. You can never be too careful. This talisman will make her gradually forget about all this. It's to protect you. It was dinner time when I got back to the dorm. My roommates were thrilled to see the food I brought back. Chloe threw an arm around my shoulder, grinning. It's okay, Jade. I promise I'll never bring up that stuff again. While everyone was gathered around eating, I discreetly stuck the talisman to the underside of Chloe's bed frame. To my surprise, after I placed the talisman, Chloe really did seem to forget everything about the cleansing and the jade pendant. A few times, I tried to bring it up, but she just looked at me with a blank, confused expression. Just when I thought things were finally getting back to normal, I ran into a strange man in the dining hall. He was holding a horsetail whisk and eating a plate of fish-fragrant pork fried rice. A lot of students were gathered around, taking pictures of him. As he was eating, he seemed to notice me. Then he picked up his tray and sat down right next to me. "Excuse me, young lady. Could I take a look at the jade pendant around your neck? Another one after my jade?" I picked up my tray and moved to a different table. But he followed me. "If I'm not mistaken, you haven't been wearing that jade for very long, have you?" My mind went blank, and I blurted out, "How did you know?" His expression turned serious. "I not only know that, but I also know that at least 2 different groups of people are after you." Now I was completely lost. Seeing my disbelief, he casually reached out with his right hand and plucked a silver needle from the collar of my shirt. He squinted at the needle, tossed it into the trash can and spat. What a vicious curse. Why was there a silver needle in my collar? A chill ran down my spine as I listened to him. The jade around your neck is no good, and the needle in your collar is even more sinister. Think about it. Who gave you the jade, and who has handled your clothes? The old man gave me the jade. And the needle? I remembered that after I did my laundry the other day, Chloe had offered to help me carry it back from the laundry room. So she was the one who put the needle there? My head was spinning. Chloe said the old man gave me the jade to steal my soul. The old man said Chloe took the jade to steal my fate. And now this man was telling me they were both trying to harm me. What in the world was I? Why was everyone so fixated on me? Looking at the man's knowing smile, I decided to take a gamble. I told him everything that had happened since I'd started college, holding nothing back. The man, who introduced himself as Liam, thought for a moment and then gave me a red string. "Wear this. I'll come find you the day before your birthday." Your roommate was right about one thing though. These next few nights, no matter what you hear, do not answer. Before I went to bed, I did as Liam said and tied the red string around my wrist. In the middle of the night, a piercing scream woke me from a dream. My first instinct was to sit up, but I remembered Liam's warning and forced myself to keep my eyes shut. See no evil, see no evil. I clutched the red string on my wrist, not daring to open my eyes. Just then, I felt something cold and clammy touch my back. The thing moved its hand over my back for a long moment, then stood by my bed, completely still. It was as if it was checking to see if I was asleep. Once it was sure I hadn't woken up, the cold presence moved away from me. I carefully opened my eyes just a crack. By the moonlight streaming in from the balcony, a huge shadow was cast on the wall in front of me. The strange figure had picked up the clothes I'd left on my desk and was carefully feeling them. I instantly knew what it was doing. It was checking for the silver needle in my collar. I turned over as silently as I could. Chloe's bed was empty. Thank goodness Liam had been one step ahead. After he threw away the cursed needle, he had replaced it with an ordinary one. The figure probably didn't feel the difference. After confirming the needle was still there, it tiptoed out of the dorm. I clutched my blanket, my eyes wide open until dawn. Just as the sky was beginning to lighten, Chloe came back. She leaned over my bed and whispered my name a couple of times. When I didn't respond, she went back to her own bed, seemingly relieved. She had been faking it. She hadn't forgotten anything. I sent a text to Liam, telling him what had happened. He told me to play along and not let anyone know we were in contact. My anxiety grew worse and worse, until finally my birthday arrived. The day before, as I had arranged with my parents, I got permission from my advisor to take the night off. I told my roommates to lock the door and not wait up for me. My other roommates all wished me a happy birthday. Only Chloe frowned at me. "Is it just you and your parents? Who else would there be?" I looked at her suspiciously. "Chloe, are you remembering something?" My question was like flipping a switch. She shuddered, and her face went back to that blank, innocent expression. I took a bus to the hotel and sent my location to Liam. Only after he replied with a received did I feel safe enough to go into the hotel room. To my surprise, the old man who gave me the jade was also there. I looked at my parents and my mom smiled. "The great master is your savior. We invited him to join us." I nodded and took the glass of milk my parents handed me. After I drank it, I started to feel drowsy. My parents told me to take a nap, and they would wake me up at midnight to blow out the candles. But when I was woken up again, I found myself tied to a chair. My parents were standing in front of me. They looked at me silently, but it was as if they were looking through me, at something else. I struggled, but the ropes were tied tight. "Dad, Mom. My mom's eyes were red. She came forward and stroked my face. Jade, honey, don't blame your mother. I had no other choice. My dad looked at the old man. Begin, great master. The old man nodded and dragged out a leather bag from behind him. He opened it. Inside were dozens of identical jade pendants. My mom looked at the pendants and started to cry again. My sweet girl, my little girl. Seeing her like this, I knew there was no more room for doubt. I yelled toward the door, Liam. There was a loud crash from outside, and Liam appeared in the doorway, holding his whisk. I hear you, I hear you. You've got a strong set of lungs on you, kid. The old man tried to stop Liam, but he was no match for a younger, stronger man. Soon, the old man and my parents were all tied up and restrained in the room. Liam turned to me. They're your parents. What do you want to do? I finally broke down and cried. I sobbed as I asked my mom why. My mom didn't say anything. It was my dad who spat on the floor. Why? You were never my kid in the first place. After saying that, my dad shut his mouth and refused to say another word. I sighed and stood up, bowing to Liam. Master, shouldn't those who abuse mystic arts be punished? Liam nodded. Of course. Our way has its own rules. The punishment will not be light. Then I'll leave it to you, master. I asked Liam to take the fraudulent old man back to wherever he could be properly punished. I told him I was taking my parents home. Once we were home, I would have plenty of time to get the truth out of them. This is a family matter. I won't trouble you with it, master. Liam squinted. Are you sure? I nodded. He smiled, then called out to the doorway. You can come out now, my dear Junior. As he spoke, a familiar figure appeared in the doorway. It was Chloe. Chloe. Liam. The two names finally clicked in my head. Was Liam the incredibly talented senior that Chloe was always talking about? Chloe looked at me with a mix of pity and contempt. I was going to let you off the hook, but you're just not worth it. Giving such a good fate to you is a waste. She tugged on Liam's sleeve. Liam, hurry up and give her fate to me. Liam tapped her on the head. You're as mischievous as ever. He complained, but without another word, Liam raised his whisk and pointed it at my forehead. As he did, a tearing pain shot through me, and I couldn't stop myself from screaming. But what I didn't expect was for my dad to scream even louder than I did. Don't touch her. That body belongs to my daughter. His words were so confusing. They even made me forget the pain. I stared at him blankly. Dad, what are you saying? Am I not your daughter? But Liam didn't have time for that. The pressure from his hand grew stronger. Just as I felt my soul about to be ripped from my body, another force suddenly appeared. This force worked against Liam's. It pushed hard, desperately trying to shove my soul back into my body. The pulling and pushing made me scream again. I forced my eyes open and saw a figure in a yellow dress standing directly in front of me. She was pushing against me with all her might, shouting, "Don't touch her." That voice. That voice. It was the voice from that night, the one that had warned me to be careful. After the figure appeared, Liam abruptly released the pressure. My soul settled back into place, firmly returning to my body. Liam wiped the sweat from his forehead. He looked at the figure. You've finally shown yourself. He pointed at the figure and said to my dad, see? Your daughter doesn't want this life. The sudden turn of events left me frozen. Chloe sighed. I guess I'll be the one to explain. Jade, this is your sister. Your parents' biological daughter. 20 years ago, your mother was about to give birth. Fearing she would have a daughter who would be killed in the cleansing, she bought you from human traffickers. 20 years ago, in a house on Huaijin Mountain, a family was awaiting the birth of their first child. Because of the clan's tradition of the cleansing, the parents made a plan. They bought a newborn baby. They decided that if they had a son, the baby would be his child bride. If they had a daughter, they would drown the bought baby, fulfilling their duty to the village. Then they could raise their own daughter in secret. They spent a fortune and made all the preparations. But the mother had a difficult birth, and their biological daughter died just moments after she was born. To make matters worse, the mother's body was damaged, and she could never have children again. Left with no other choice, they submitted to fate. They raised the baby they had bought. That baby was me. But they could never accept losing their real daughter, Chloe said, looking at me with pity. They preserved their daughter's bones. They used a dark ritual to bind her soul. They were just waiting until I turned 20, when their daughter's soul would be strong enough. Then they would have her possess my body. So she's the one people were seeing? The figure in yellow turned around. She had the exact same face as me, but her eyes were as clear and innocent as a child's. She slowly smiled. Sister. She walked toward me, as if she wanted to give me a hug, but her body passed right through me, like she was made of air. You can't touch her, Liam said to her. She seemed to understand. She looked at her own hands, then smiled at me again. It's okay. A wave of sadness washed over me. You don't hate me at all? My question made her pause. She loves you, Chloe answered for her. She's watched you grow up. She's always thought of you as her real older sister. That's why she instinctively took on your appearance. She was the one who warned you in the middle of the night. She was afraid of scaring you, so she tried to warn you in subtle ways. The figure in yellow nodded. I'll love sister. I burst into tears. The parents who raised me wanted to kill me, to give my body to their daughter who had died at birth. And my sister, who had no blood relation to me, just wanted me to live. The truth shattered my parents as well. My dad roared, why? You're the one who should be alive. This little bastard with no parents was raised for you. The figure in yellow took a step back and spat at him. Bad man. How did you know the old man was a fake? Liam suddenly asked me. I was silent for a moment. The Tanjade people are famous for their mountain goats. When they make lamb skewers, they put a piece of lamb tail fat between two pieces of meat. It makes the skewers juicy and delicious, not dry or tough. When I was a kid, my voice choked with emotion. When I was a kid, my parents always made lamb for me like that. My dad would be stirring a pot of milky white lamb soup while grilling skewers until they were fragrant and sizzling. He'd hand one to me and say, here you go, my little hungry caterpillar. So at that northwestern restaurant, I knew after one bite that the lamb was gamey and dry, almost inedible. But the old man had eaten it with gusto, as if it were the most delicious thing he'd ever had. He said he was also from the Tanjade clan. Someone from the Tanjade clan, who grew up eating lamb, would never eat like that. He wasn't from Tanjade, which meant his story about being a wandering mystic returning home was a lie. From the very beginning, it was all a scam targeting me. After I finished, my dad suddenly stopped shouting. Maybe he was remembering my childhood too. He mumbled something, and his eyes grew red. He had lost his real daughter. And from this day forward, he no longer had an adopted one either. I formally asked Liam to send my sister, in name, on to her next life. Liam agreed. I'll take her back to the temple. My master will help her. She didn't want to leave. I reached out and stroked her head through the empty air. Go on. You deserve a wonderful, wonderful next life. My parents' selfishness had not only harmed me, but had also imprisoned her. If it weren't for their delusion, my sister would be in elementary school by now. Chloe asked me what I planned to do next. I smiled. Cut ties, work hard to finish college, and support myself. Chloe chimed in, finally showing some backbone. She linked her arm through mine. But before all that, you owe me breakfast. All that acting was exhausting, and pulling an all-nighter is no joke. Oh, and I still haven't gotten you back for sticking that talisman under my bed. I rubbed my nose. How about I treat you to fried dough sticks and soy milk? And a basket of soup dumplings. Fine, 2 baskets. As we walked out of the hotel, the sun was just rising. Golden light spilled over the distant mountains, casting a magnificent, brilliant glow over the earth. A stone with jade inside will glow, a river with pearls will flow with charm. My parents named me Jade. And even though that name was meant for my sister, it belongs to me now. And I will live my life to the fullest, for her sake as well. I will become a gem, grown from a barren mountain, but shining brightly all the same. The end.